got a little bit of a religious tolerance problem.
But this has always been what the left has done. They take the pure, the sanctity of things and they make it profane.
Because everything about what's happening in Minnesota and across the country is a activist left saying we don't observe the law.
For a significant portion of the public, this isn't the time for strongly worded letters. This is the time for action.
It's like this religious tolerance type thing. Like you can raid a Sunday service on the left, but you're also like Jewish people like, ugh. I don't know. The only people that I see protected, like ultimately protected in the way that the First Amendment was designed to do, is your Islamic extremists.
Pretty much.
That's it.
For decades, the rising cost of health insurance has been a contentious issue, one that affects every single American. Big health insurance companies who have been paid trillions in U.S. taxpayer money are raising health insurance prices historically high on Americans. At the same time, it was reported that major health insurance companies were funneling hundreds of thousands of dollars to fund Gavin Newsom's redistricting effort in California, designed to undermine President Trump and congressional Republicans. Just the other day, President Trump announced something historic. He's going to haul in the heads of the largest U.S. health insurance companies with the goal of saving Americans money by lowering the outrageous price of health insurance. The president has been crystal clear. Big insurance companies have been, quote, ripping off the public for years. Now he's taking the bold step of holding those big insurance companies accountable. It's about time, and we should all thank President Trump. Learn more at americansforopengovernment.com.
America, the best to ever do it. We landed on the moon and invented the microchip. Now with China outspending us 2-1 in the race for fusion, we can't wait. Our jobs, our communities, and our national security depend on American energy. And when we go all in, we win. It's what we do. So tell President Trump and Congress to deliver a new era of American greatness. Fund fusion. Make America first again. Paid for by Built for America.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
Keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs.
It's time for our main event.
Good Tuesday to you. You got the fellas coming off a 3-day weekend, so you're going to have an extra amount of hype here. I can tell just by the pre-show meeting, this is going to be a wild one. I'm Josh Holmes, along with Comfortably Smug, Michael Duncan, and John Ashbrook, left to right across your radio dial. This could get sideways, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, it's yet another weekend of the rest of the country enjoying time with their family and Democrats just running amok, doing their best to destroy the country.
It turns out
they don't take weekends off.
Got a little bit of a religious tolerance problem on several different fronts, of course. Something that we've known for quite some time and have talked about for quite some time on the Ruthless Friday program. We're going to get into it. It was Minnesota as it pertains to ICE again, but it involves a perennial contender of hack madness, Don Lemon, which we're about to get into. There's also a governor of Pennsylvania, where if you listen to the Ruthless Friday program, we told you all the way back from when Joe Biden exited stage left that they couldn't choose him because they didn't like Jewish people. And
turns out we called it.
Turns out we were onto that. And then we've got some variety and we've got some redistricting. The variety you're going to want to stick around for. It involves a ski suit.
Oh, man.
And this might be my favorite piece of variety that we've done in a long time. I mean, I'm talking years here.
That's hype.
This is hype. So you want to stick around for that. But let's get right into the mix. So the setup for this is a story by Fox News. Anti-ICE mob storms a Minnesota church over pastor's alleged ties to immigration enforcement. And none of this has been corroborated to the point where we know like a pastor and ICE and whatever. I mean, it may or may not, but here's the point. The point is that you have a group of individual protesters storming into a Sunday service, disrupting prayer, in order to protest. And we're going to show you a couple of clips about this. But before I do, I just want to remind all of you that this is the same Twin Cities area that experienced a church shooting not but 4 months ago, where you had a clinically insane, trans idiot shoot and kill kids and injure others by storming in or around a Catholic church in downtown Minneapolis. Same area, right? These people come rolling up as though none of that shit ever happened, as if that's ever appropriate in any way. But they do, and then Don Lemon is in tote. I want to play clip 1 just to set the stage here.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
They're doing the stupid hands up, don't shoot lie, which has been debunked hundreds of times. And this is so enraging. To do this in a church where,
So was the hands up, don't shoot thing, was that a Michael Brown?
Yeah.
yes,
Louis.
it was completely
St.
disproven
Louis.
that it never happened. And the funny thing is, it was disproven by Obama's Department of Justice.
Yeah.
Who clarified that, that is not at all what happened. But like all things that the left believes in, it's based on lies. It never happened. It's make-believe. And they're using that to take a very real and abhorrent action and ruin a church service that's being attended by families. I saw this image of a
I
dad
saw this.
comforting his son,
Yeah.
and the police, the Department of Justice, everybody, I'm not blackpilling, but you people need to do something and do something fast. Because like Holmes said, not only did you have that insano shooter storm a church in the same town not too long ago, but the more and more regular everyday people see their lives being disrupted by these left-wing lunatics. They've been blocking highways while people are trying to get to work. Now they're storming churches. There's basically no way to escape the mayhem that they're unleashing on this country. And if they do not start facing consequences, and I mean in a reasonable amount of time, I mean quickly, if we don't start seeing anything being done to people who do this,
Got to go to jail.
folks are going to start taking this into their own hands.
Absolutely got to go to jail.
Because the thing
No
is that
question.
if the police do not do their duty of protecting people, we saw Harmeet Dillon, people weighed in, excuse me, but I think for a significant portion of the public, this isn't the time for strongly worded letters. This is the time for action, and it's because people will take this into their own hands, and no one's going to be happy seeing that.
No, not at all. I mean, there's a million churches you could walk into where those people don't walk out.
Yes, there's a lot of churches I know of that the people have defense covered.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, if it's a Twin Cities area where you experienced incredible violence, tragic violence in the last 4 months in a very real way, and then these people come storming in as if that's just going to be what it's going to... I mean, they're very lucky that they walked out of there. I mean, I would say 2/3 of the churches that I know of where you have people screaming and yelling and disrupting a prayer, you're not walking out of there.
Bingo.
You're not. I mean, that's going to be a problem. So, and then, of course, the news story, if that was the kind of church, would be like, well, what did this congregation, did they respond to? No, you just don't fucking disrupt church. You just don't do it. It's so far beyond the pale, but they have no limits.
I mean, a bedrock of this country, part of the reason it was founded was folks escaped persecution so that they can have their churches and pray in peace.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to go, that's an attack on the bedrock and the foundation of this country of what those lunatics did.
But this has always been what the left has done. They take the pure, the sanctity of things and they make it profane.
Yep.
Just like when they go to museums and they throw paint on works of art.
Priceless works.
Irreplaceable
works.
has always been their playbook.
Yep.
Which is disgusting.
It is. And you've heard me make the case over the last few weeks that I don't know what's going on here, but that's not like the Minnesota that I know, not the people that I know. I mean, you guys have met these guys that I grew up with. I mean, it's weird. It's kind of like maybe there is just an importation of Somali refugees because of the money circle that all of a sudden you've got this just like exponential growth of insanity.
It's because no one has drawn a line in the sand.
I think
it's
that's
because there
part of
have
it.
not been consequences.
But there's also a huge shipment inside of what we're seeing in Minnesota out externally to try to ramp things up. Case in point, Don Lemon.
Yep.
Right? Here's Don Lemon at that church in clip 2.
What do you think of this?
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship.
But there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
okay, but listen, we live in there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here.
Don't
here
push
to worship
me.
Jesus.
Please
That's
don't
why we're
push
here.
me.
Okay, that's why we're here. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding?
Oh my
we're
God!
about
See,
worship.
love
Right.
these folks?
That
We're about
thing
spreading
really
love of
gets
Jesus.
me.
But did you try to talk to them as a
No
Christian?
one is
Did you
willing
try to talk? Yeah.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to
Unless you're here
chronicle
to
what
worship.
happened?
Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to,
No,
we're
you're
here to
not.
worship.
So this is another like left-wing meme of like, I hate your religion and what you believe in, and I'm going to try to take what you believe in and say, no, Jesus would agree with me. Like, get out of here. When he says that, do you believe we have a First Amendment right? No, the First Amendment goes as far as long as it doesn't infringe upon others. That church service is people exercising their First Amendment right of being able to assemble and pray. When you infringe upon that, you're actually infringing upon someone else's constitutional rights. They would be well within their rights, in my opinion, to do whatever violence is necessary to rectify
Well,
that. But we do have laws in this country that are supposed to protect individuals in their church. I'd like to see those being used.
There's a long-standing saying that the Second Amendment is there to protect the First.
That's right.
And in a lot of parts of this country, the Second Amendment would have been there to protect the First.
Well, and
in that regard. And that's what scares me, because this thing gets like we're talking about a legal activity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
We're talking about they're arresting pedophiles, they're arresting illegal folks convicted of crimes. They're doing all this stuff, and everything is illegal on that side of the ledger. They don't want that to happen for all the reasons we've discussed over the last couple of weeks. But that's like the level set here. And then you get into this situation where is there no dignity? Is there no sanctity in anything anymore?
None.
Not with these people.
No, let's also be honest about something. There is nothing free about the speech that they were doing inside of that church. We know that these people are being paid by left-wing organizations. We know that there is absolute there is organizing that's going on in Minnesota, and there is documented evidence, and nothing punctuates that better than Don Lemon, left-wing superstar,
What's he
showing
there
up at the
for?
church. He's there because the people who are being paid to stand up and create a scene, and then Don Lemon is there to broadcast it to everybody and to ask these stupid questions.
Can I tell you why Don Lemon is there? Is because he recognizes there's going to be no consequences. He's seen what's been going on of people like breaking into FBI cars, pulling out their guns and their documents and broadcast. He sees there's no consequences for left-wingers to run amok. So he's like, I'm going to farm this for content. He's like, this is free ratings. This is easy. He sees for days now in Minnesota, you can be a left-wing lunatic running amok and there's no consequences. So he's like, why would I not fly in? Because he flew in, he shot that content. Have you been seeing, he's been doing the left-wing podcast circuit after he went into that church and ruined that.
Yeah.
After he went and did that, he's been doing the left-wing podcast circuit as a victory lap because he knows he will not face consequences. And he just says, this is content. This is ratings. This is easy.
It's not like he just randomly showed up at a church on some Sunday, and then that's what's happening at every single church in Minneapolis. No, this was a planned event, and these are people who were probably paid to be there, just like in every other instance that we've seen in Minneapolis, people coming in from out of state. That woman who told Laura Ingraham she was being paid to be at that protest. I mean, there's a financial incentive for these people to disrupt American culture because there are forces at play who want to ruin our country. You know, it's just it's not like that place was packed out. You know, they're just regular people, like you guys were saying, walking into church on a Sunday, somebody with their kid. They're looking for a little bit of like something better in their life. And then lunatics come in to try to make a scene for the internet. And Don Lemon is leeching onto that. Like it's a terrible thing. The left is an absolute corrosive force on our society. And to your point, it needs to be stopped.
I also feel like it ties it kind of neatly into another thing that we love here on the Ruthless Friday program, which is just exposing what the corporate media has become.
Yeah.
In that, you know, we're like 2 years removed from CNN straight facing, this is a journalist. This is this
right.
like
about Don Lemon.
He is, you know, of course, he deserves a primetime show. This is a serious journalist. He does, you know, this is, and then like you remove the reins, he gets fired from CNN, and like look what he's up to, storming churches with Black Lives Matter to disrupt Sunday services. Like what? I mean, it's so far out of your average everyday left of center Democrat. Like we were talking about activist left, like crazy left. I saw another clip. What was the other asshole that used to be the White House reporter for CNN? He's now like
Jim Acosta.
Yeah. Saw another thing over the weekend with him doing a whole bunch of left wing podcasts talking about like this is the worst family in the history of the world with the Trumps and everything else. And it's like, dude, they just take their mask off. And that's what happens every time one of these people gets fired from every one of these corporate industry news organizations, that they're like, oh, yeah, well, yeah, it turns out this is who I am. I'm a left-wing psychopath.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, dude, it's just... So DOJ is going to do something about this. You saw Harmeet Dillon get involved. She says that if you want to put up graphic 1, the civil rights, and that's her division that she leads over at DOJ, is investigating the potential violations of the Federal FACE Act by these people desecrating a house of worship and interfering with Christian worshipers, tags Pam Bondi in it. I hope that's true. And like, look, I think Harmeet is totally committed to this stuff. I don't question her wherewithal to try to prosecute these sorts of things. But to Smug's point, they're going to have to take this stuff seriously because it is lawless behavior. I mean, we've gone far beyond, you know, we have a difference of opinion on public policy. Mm-hmm. Well, you're rampaging in houses of worship and pretending as though you can just do that. Like, where do you draw the line? Yeah, very clearly the First Amendment situation. You this asshole Don Lemon out there saying it's like, oh, it's freedom of speech. It's like, did you miss the first part of the fucking amendment? You dumb shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they have to have some accountability. I understand the left wants accountability for absolutely nothing.
No.
Because everything about what's happening in Minnesota and across the country is a activist left saying we don't observe the law. And that's what it is. It's not we have a difference of opinion on public policy and how it's executed by a particular administration. That's why they feel this way. But ultimately, it's we don't observe the law. We don't like the immigration law, so you shouldn't enforce it. We don't like you coming in and saying that we're not doing accounting practices fairly because we're just fraudulently ripping off the taxpayer. We don't like that you've blown the whistle on that. So we're pissed.
And that's
now your Sunday's fucked.
That's a key thing so it's not like the left is necessarily against the law or the police. They just want themselves to be the law and the police. They're against when President Trump and Republicans are in control of having any rules. But yeah. I think all conservatives should try to remember what it was like just a few years ago when the Biden regime was hunting down moms attending school board meetings and had the FBI consider them domestic terrorists when they were fanning out billions of dollars worth of government resources and FBI agents to hunt down anyone who was within a 20-block radius of the Capitol on January 6th and throwing those people in solitary confinement. We had numerous of those individuals commit suicide after years of being put in solitary. So that's the difference is when Democrats, like remember what it was like conservatives before Elon had Twitter. you're going to get permabanned and probably have somebody show up to your house. Okay? And now that Republicans have control, it's like, look how the left's acting. They're not worried about any consequences.
No, none. Well, I mean, so they're saying they're going to do this investigation. There's a lot of difficult police work and all of these things, trying to find out where the funding. This one, not so difficult because the organizer of the event, well, helpfully put it on Facebook.
Wow.
All the attendees and the funders and the organizers that were involved. If you want to put up graphic 3, friends, here's a clip of our demonstration this morning at City's Church in St. Paul. David Easterwood is a pastor at the church and the acting field director for an ICE office in St. Paul. That is not confirmed. Could not be true. We don't know. But it has not been confirmed at this time. It's time for judgment to begin, and it will begin in the house of God. Thank you all for the activists who showed up, and independent journalists Georgia Fort, Don Lemon, DeWokie Farmer 2. I'm sure that is
wow.
DeWokie Farmer. That's fantastic. Brixton Hughes. Special thanks to Monique Coolers Doty, Chantil Allen, Santara Strong Allen. Needed a hyphen in there. I'm glad we finally got to it. For co-organizing this mission from Black Lives Matter Minnesota and Black Lives Matter Twin Cities Metro, along with the Racial Justice Network. Now, fellas, I don't know. I had just assumed when Black Lives Matter went tits up for buying
property in LA?
Properties in LA and being shown that they used all of the post-George Floyd funding largesse to their personal benefit, that whole organization was done. Even the mayor of D.C. took the name off of the 16th Street in Washington, D.C., which was prominently painted and repainted for 4 long years once they found out this was essentially a fraud-ridden organization. They took it off. But it still exists, apparently, here in Minneapolis, and it's organizing these things.
I've seen a lot of dumb criminals because I watched Cops a lot growing up.
Great show.
Very rare does someone tag on social media all of the people involved in a criminal conspiracy. That's very rare.
That's a helpful thing. So, like, for folks at the FBI, feel free to hit that up, and you can just conveniently click the link. Just has the names, and there it is.
So we got more religious problems after this. We're going to find out about Governor Josh Shapiro and what we've talked about all along here on the Ruthless Friday program about why he wasn't the vice presidential selection for Kamala Harris in his own words. But first, we're going to be in Philadelphia, folks. We are going to be there celebrating America 250 in downtown Philadelphia.
It's going to be huge.
The Ruthless Friday program, we want to kick it off early. It's January. We're going to do one of these every month somewhere. We're just going to, America's, we're celebrating, despite these psychopaths that show up at churches. And it's the only way to drown this shit out is to try to do the opposite. So we're going to show up in Philadelphia to celebrate America's 250 on January 29. Doors open at 6 p.m. Tickets are free. Food and beverage included. Huh? So if you go to a250philly.com/ruthless, you can get tickets if you're in the area. And they're going to provide you, once you register for it, they're going to provide you the location and all of that. And I think it's going to be a great time. It's going to be with our friends from American Prosperity. We're going to have a lot of great guests celebrating America as one does.
Yeah. I'm going to fix the crack in the Liberty Bell.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Finally.
You're not going to want to miss that.
Finally. He's bringing his toolkit, folks.
I mean, it's going to be a great show. We're going to have some friends there. Everyone's going to be entertained. It's free. I try to be in the area for this. January 29th, doors at 6 p.m. I'm going to try to get Holmes to wear all the Philadelphia Eagles gear.
Oh, my God.
We're going to be in town, celebrate his family's team.
I mean, he just doesn't know when to quit. He's much like a liberal Democrat in that regard. It just keeps coming. So coming up, we're going to get to the Josh Shapiro situation and a whole bunch more right after this.
President Trump called for American energy dominance. Congress can deliver it by allowing year-round E15. E15 lowers prices at the pump, strengthens rural economies, and puts more money in the pockets of farm families. But political gridlock is limiting E15's potential. Farmers, fuel retailers, and consumers want certainty. They need permanent year-round E15. Let's make America energy secure. Let's make rural America stronger. Congress, let's make year-round E15 permanent.
So recall all the way back to when Joe Biden skated out, the Ruthless Friday program pontificated upon who could potentially make Kamala Harris nationwide acceptable. And there was very few that could ultimately do that. But one of the states that they absolutely had to win was Pennsylvania, and they happen to have a young Democratic governor, by far the most talented Democrat that they have in the entire roster in Pennsylvania, with like a 75% approval rating at the time. And they apparently interviewed him.
What kind of questions would they ask him during this interview?
Yeah. Yeah. And, we know the end of the story. They ultimately settled on Tim Walz, like the absolute worst governor in the history of the world, and embarrassed them throughout that entire campaign. But we said at the time, like, at a minimum, this cat could get them the state that they have to win. The only pathway that they have to beating Donald Trump is taking Pennsylvania. And they were like, at the time, well, there's a lot of different maps, a lot of different pathways. Pennsylvania is a foregone conclusion, yada, yada, yada. We pontificated that it was basically because Kamala Harris's role at the end of the Biden campaign tenure before he exited was to try to re-solidify this far-left, anti-Israel, pro-Hamas crowd. Remember how loud that was at the time? But that was her job. She was like the pro-Hamas whisperer.
Yeah.
And apparently, like, our point of view was like, well, this clearly had something to do with it. Mm-hmm. Like, clearly, they were more concerned about having a Jewish person on the ticket than they were about winning statewide.
Right.
And, well, it turns out Josh Shapiro confirmed all of that. Now, you recall, at the time, this bubbled up. We weren't the only people. We're the only people to suggest that no matter what that they were saying, this was absolutely true. Because everybody else just agreed with what the Harris campaign said in a statement to the Jewish Telephonic Agency, an aide, and they always did it. Remember? We talked about this. They always did it through an aide. They would never put it in Kamala Harris's mouth.
She could never make a statement without making an idiot of herself.
Yeah. So they would, well, and not only that, but they never wanted to placate anybody on the Jewish side of the ledger with her voice.
Didn't want to be seen doing that.
They didn't want to be seen doing it.
She was the ambassador to Gaza.
Well, it's a Michigan problem, as you recall. So an aide to Harris rejected the accusation that Shapiro's faith or stances on Israel was a consideration. Assertions that Vice President Harris did not select Governor Shapiro based on his religion or views on Israel is absolutely ridiculous and offensive.
And offensive.
Vice President Harris has an unwavering commitment to Israel's security, as she reaffirmed last night following the meeting in the Situation Room, where she and President Joe Biden joined a briefing about Iranian plans to attack Israel, the aide said. She will always combat anti-Semitism wherever and whenever she sees it.
What if it's in the mirror?
I do miss.
She's like,
I do miss that time.
It's in the mirror.
I miss that time during the Biden administration where they kept trying to like airdrop Kamala into important situations and important rooms where they're trying to like burnish her credentials as a serious person, even though we all knew she was a joke.
Yeah, well, she looked like
in the Situation Room.
No, she was there, guys.
Yeah,
trust us.
Right.
In like a political context, she was like basically the bozo, the clown, sitting in the middle of people. It's like, which one of these things doesn't belong? Well, so he's written a new memoir. Shapiro is the governor of Pennsylvania, where he suggests when Kamala Harris's team vetted him to be the running mate, aides focused on Israel to an extent he found offensive. This is according to the New York Times. New York Times, right? As your point is, always smash.
Be on the front page.
But if you're going to do damage to a Democrat, it's got to be on behalf of
another Democrat.
That's exactly
in the New York Times.
Another Democrat. So here we are. In Shapiro's book, Where We Keep the Light. It's an interesting title.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't get it. The governor is measured in describing his interactions with Ms. Harris herself. But Shapiro's Jewish details a contentious vetting process in which Harris's team focused intensely on the views on Israel. So much so that at one point he wrote he was asked if he'd ever been an agent of the Israeli government.
Come on. They legit asked him.
Hold on, this is it. Quote, had I been a double agent for Israel? This is the governor of Pennsylvania. Wrote Mr. Shapiro describing the incredulous response to a last-minute question from the vetting team. He responded that the question was offensive, and he wrote and was told, well, we have to ask.
You do?
Do you?
That's
Is it a rule?
Yeah. Have you ever communicated with an undercover agent of Israel? Unquote. The questioner, Dana Remus, a former White House counsel, continued, according to Shapiro, who recounted, if they were undercover, I responded, how the hell would I know?
Also, it's amazing that he named names.
Yeah.
Like straight up. And,
Oh, yeah.
And when you said that in the context of like, whenever the New York Times is letting something get printed that like makes a Dem look bad, it's in service to another Dem. Shapiro is clearly going after Harris here because reports also popped up this past weekend that like Democrats in D.C. hate Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
But they're scared because she's been on this like tour around the country and getting a lot of Democrats in like in her appearances. And so outside DC, Democrats are like, let's run her again. So Shapiro clearly is like,
he's like,
I want to run.
Let me just tell you a little something about this. Remember, Boot Buttigieg had a similar response when her book said basically that they didn't pick him because he's afraid of the gays. She's afraid of the gays, right? She's like, I myself am a champion of the gays. I'm afraid the American people are not. Which is basically why. And she
says it to Rachel Maddow. Like, no offense, we just can't have you people on the ticket.
And Boot is like, what the fuck? Are you serious with this? And she had no response. They came at her 6 ways from Sunday on the Boot situation, but now the Shapiro thing, similar, very similar. But it connects to the first story in that it's like this religious tolerance type thing. Like you can raid a Sunday service on the left, but you're also like Jewish people like, ugh. I don't know. The only people that I see protected, like ultimately protected in the way that the First Amendment was designed to do, is your Islamic extremists.
Pretty much.
That's it.
Right.
They seem like they have a codlock in the Democratic Party. Like, nope, you cannot fool with those folks. Let's just ship them money. I don't care if they're doing the job or not. We need to ship them cash. Let's make sure they're a part of the coalition. If you're like a Jewish person who's been involved in the Democratic Party for 80 years, you're fucking out.
Right.
You're out. Right? A gay person, like the entire movement of the liberal left. Yep, you're gone.
Prayer mat on an airplane.
You know,
they got you.
There is one.
Like during the VP vetting process, are they like, listen, so Gitmo's still open. Is there anyone in there we could interview?
He seems extremely committed to his point of view.
There's one question.
We like that kind of conviction.
I mean, I think he could win Michigan for us.
Definitely win. The Dearborn faithful are coming out.
There is one question that is not mentioned in this story that I wonder whether she asked Governor Shapiro. Does Pennsylvania have a large community of Somalis who moves great quantities of cash and unmarked bills? Can they get the money to my campaign? Toot sweet.
Well,
that's the thing.
As it turns out, as they documented in this story, he was an outspoken critic of what he saw as anti-Semitism in the Israel-Hamas war, which I think would prevent him.
That was the deal breaker, dude.
Yeah.
They're like, nah.
It would prevent him from engaging in the largesse swap, where you provide the taxpayer, your money in order for them to give it to people who don't do a job, in order for them to give it back to them so they can be reelected for things. That seems like that's the circle that they're trying to square with their whole election plan. So Shapiro didn't fit into that. At another point, he wrote during the vetting process, I wondered whether these questions were being posed to just me, the only Jewish guy in the running, or if everyone who had not held federal office was being grilled about Israel in the same way.
Incredible. Incredible.
You think she asked Pete Buttigieg if he was an undercover operative for the gays? Hey, Pete.
Are you going to just do the gays? How willing are you to open the aperture on that? I mean, for real, it's dude, it reads comically. Yeah. These people are probably the worst of the worst in terms of both vetting, understanding the political viability of who it was that they were choosing to do the job. But I almost don't blame them because they're indicative of this larger, modern Democratic Party.
Yep.
This is who they are.
They're just so screwed because there is this atrophied Democrat establishment which has complete control, right? Like there hasn't been anyone on their ticket in a generation who isn't a Clinton, Obama, or a Biden for an entire generation. And so they're stuck in this situation where they're like, okay, the jig is up. Like Biden is going to like croak live on TV. We got to do something about this. But we cannot have by any means an open primary. They learned with Bernie. They're like, it took all of us cutting deals. We had to put Boot in the Department of Transportation to get him to drop out to stop Bernie. They're like, we don't want to cut any of these deals. Let's just get Kamala. So they're stuck with the biggest idiot in the history of politics.
Of all of them. Surrounded by idiots, too.
And then they're like,
Evidently.
okay, but here's the problem is we still have to deal with the grassroots. And the grassroots is radical Islamists. Yeah. So now we got to ask the one Jewish guy if he's actually working for Israel. It's like the funniest episode of Veep ever.
Totally. Can you imagine? It is like an episode of Veep.
It's incredible.
Can you going into this guy and be like, so
you work for Israel? He's like, you're asking me that because I'm a Jew? Like, actually, yes.
How Jewy are you?
Like,
you know what I mean?
Like working for Israel, dude?
No, that literally is what the conversation is like. I mean, like, we real Jewish? Are we just kind of like, we're Jewish because that's how we grew up? Are we, you like Israel?
Incredible.
And then he's like, yeah. So the capstone of this, which has nothing to do with the Israel side, which I found completely hilarious, is that ultimately this process concluded at some point, and he has to be connected with Harris to share the decision. Like, ultimately, if she was going to make a decision, he wanted to hear it from her. Not too much to ask. He's the governor of the state that they needed to win, know, other than California, the largest state that they needed to win in terms of electoral vote. And he wrote, but she says he was told the VP would not handle bad news well, and that I shouldn't push.
She was in the Situation Room. She was too busy dealing with the affairs of the country. She can't make a phone call to the governor of Pennsylvania, a state she had to win if she had any prayer.
What a clown car.
Just an idiot, dude.
What a clown car.
She's the dumbest person.
Dude, the fact that any of this stuff is close blows my mind. The fact that any of this, these are the people that are the opposition.
Dude, that's the thing is when we've been discussing our theory on why that idiot Walz ended up getting it and how the head of the DNC currently, Ken Martin's from Minnesota, and the previous had Keith Ellison's from Minnesota, the AG currently in Minnesota. Like, a lot of that money seems to slush around. They had to pay for a $1 million Call Her Daddy set. They're like, who's picking up the bill?
Yeah.
And this dumb white guy says, I got my hands on some money.
Yeah, he's like, hey, here's the deal. You just send it to the daycares.
Yeah.
You get back 40 cents on the dollar. It's fantastic. And here's the beauty of it. It all comes from taxpayers. You don't have to invest a dime.
Dude, I guarantee there's conversations that happen just like that.
I mean, it seems like it. Even if it's unspoken, that's in practice close to what it is that the reality is.
I mean, we played audio of Keith Ellison straight up having conversation with the dude who got indicted.
Yeah, it's a full-on Elliot Ness situation, like bad, shame if something happened to your house type stuff.
Speaking of, have you guys heard like an outpouring of parents from the Minneapolis area about what they're doing now that all the daycares are closed? Have you heard anybody say that I don't have anywhere to send my kids?
Dude, that
now?
is a great point.
Nobody's talking about that.
Amazing.
It's amazing how they
fake.
closed all those daycares and there was not a single child displaced.
That's what my
From
point.
any of that.
Amazing.
It's amazing. You can eliminate $8 billion in funding.
All the transportation.
Yeah.
I mean, the
That's
bus,
the thing,
no
is that's
bus
the-
driver is saying, whoa, I don't have any kids to take anymore.
For real.
It's real.
It's a great question.
It's just your money stolen.
Stolen.
Well,
And
there's got to
it's
be
gone.
consequences for all of this, which leads to our question of the day. What should the consequences be for Don Lemon? I think Smug articulated the point here, the Ruthless Friday program, perfectly, when he said basically that there has to be a line drawn in the sand on this stuff. You can't just allow people to trample over American society under the guise of like political resistance and not have some consequence. Lord knows if this was happening off the right side of the ledger, everybody be in prison. Mm-hmm. They already had.
That's why we have equal protection under the law.
Exactly.
If you had some conservatives storm a mosque, you better believe, in Minneapolis
Can
of
you
all
imagine?
places, you better believe Waltz would have those people hung up like within the hour.
Lead of the news. You storm a mosque, saying like, hey, we don't appreciate you stealing $8 billion of our money. Those people would be lead of the news. They'd be the biggest racists on the face of the planet, be ostracized.
Dude, Mayor Fry would
Prison.
be like speaking in Somali, beheading those people by dusk. My God. Something needs to be done.
True.
There's a lot I wanted to do with that I didn't
And
do.
that's why we let our comment section do it.
It's a lot that I wanted to do with that. So coming up, your comments from last episode where we asked hilariously, who's the dumbest lib and why?
Great question.
You have great answers right after this.
Energy is all around us. It's how we move, how we build, and how we make every day a little easier. We're all around. America's oil and natural gas, supporting 11 million good-paying American jobs across the country and powering our way of life. But energy demand is growing and fast. That's why we need to overhaul our broken permitting process to unleash America's abundant natural resources, strengthen national security, and create a future where American energy leads the world. What America builds today will help secure a more affordable, more reliable future with enough energy to go around for generations to come. Our country can't wait. We must pass permitting reform now to help secure American energy dominance. Because when America builds, America wins. America's oil and natural gas. Paid for by the American Petroleum Institute.
When you like and subscribe to the Ruthless Friday program, we read all of your comments to the question of the day, the very next episode. And in this case, we asked on Funtime Friday, who's the dumbest lib and why? Your responses are fantastic. To do that, we always start with a voice.
Okay, first one comes from Jack's Truths, and I absolutely love this one. He says,
He's right.
Maisie Hirono. Okay.
There's only one answer.
There is
in
only
my
one
view.
answer. And one of her famous quotes.
The filibuster. It's broken.
Okay.
I forgot.
Yeah, so good. Jack's Truths goes on to describe Maisie Hirono. He says, even though she was quiet this week, her mere existence brings the collective intelligence of this nation down to a dangerous level. She's the GOAT of brain dead libs.
Dude, I
So good.
100% endorse and agree. Jack's Truths has like a pulse of, because you have to get deep lore.
That's the thing.
Like you can't just go by who's in the news. To have the Maisie Hirono poll, you need to study.
I mean, he may be right. Like, statistically, she may be the dumbest lib ever.
There's no question in my mind that she is the dumbest lib ever. But in order to pull that to the forefront, because I don't think she's ever passed a law. It's never been an important
Or a test.
But yeah, or a test. Jack's Truths, very,
Yeah,
very
money.
impressive. All right, Dunks or Runks.
This comment is from Kyle Rogers. Kyle writes, Jasmine Crockett
Oh, yeah.
jumps into the Texas Senate Dem primary, and this week poll numbers are showing her getting blown out at Beto levels against anyone the GOP matches her up against. The other Dem in the primary had jumped 20 points from being down 10 to being over 10 if the few polls on RCP are any indicator. If this doesn't get her the title of dumbest Dem for the sheer career-ending ego trip, then her antics as she tries to claw back to relevancy in the race definitely will.
It's a good take. I mean, look, Jazzy Jazz is one of our absolute favorites. The content machine that she provides certainly qualifies her for these discussions. No question about it. We're going to see how all that ends in Texas.
My favorite, Jasmine Crockett, was the one, I think it was her, who was like, yes, I have private security, and we need to abolish the police.
Yep.
That's so cool.
Yep.
Incredible.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Almost as good as Jeff Epstein.
Yeah.
Different Jeff.
I didn't say that they're the same, but
I just said he got a contribution from Jeff Epstein. No, it's not that Jeff Epstein, but all I said, because I'm a lawyer and I'm specific about these things.
It's incredible.
Which
is such a funny excuse.
Who's like a licensed normal dentist. He's like pulling molars one day, and the next thing you know, he's like the subject of national discussion.
It was just really funny that she just like refused to apologize for something that was obviously her fault. And she was like, no, it's okay because I'm a lawyer.
So good.
Poor guy.
All right, Smug, what do you got for comment 3?
Comment 3 is from Judge Fudge. Judge Fudge writes, the dumbest libs are the ones in the legacy media today. All they do is lie, manipulate the facts on any story to benefit Democrat politicians. But now that the media sources have emerged, these legacy libs have been caught red-handed and are getting called out. Perfect example. Just watch Kaylin Levitt's daily press briefing and watch these libs melt down. That is a thing.
Yep.
It has really exposed how stupid the legacy media really is. That for so long, these people have had control over the narrative and what people are allowed to hear. And now you see it's like the Emperor has no clothes.
Well, Holmes' whole point in the first segment, right? Don Lemon, Jim Acosta, right?
Yep. It's like they all of a sudden you take their title away and they're like, that's who
I'm as crazy as you thought.
It's crazy. That was holding me back. That was holding me back. All right, when we come back, we got some variety for you. There's a senator in Virginia that is extremely funny about the redistricting fight. We're going to do something larger on this at some point, but you ought to get a little update because it's going to be a topic of conversation, a little Republican on Republican violence, which we're not allergic to here on the Ruthless Variety program because we like to sort of sort through what's the truth. But it's coming up along with some variety right after this.
20 days, one historic move, and an unbelievable journey. Melania from Amazon MGM Studios captures the one-of-a-kind transition into the White House, showcasing the planning, pressure, and personal moments that come with stepping into the role of the First Lady for a second time. From logistical complexities to decisions made behind closed doors, the film brings you closer to Mrs. Trump and her family as they return to the nation's capital. See what history looks like before the doors officially open. Melania arrives in theaters exclusively on January 30th, 2026.
Okay, so you've been reading about the redistricting fight. This was an opening salvo that was fired by the Trump administration with Texas, which sort of slipped sideways and became a little bit problematic in that Gavin Newsom in California could do basically what no red state could, which is immediately turn it around, have a referendum, and redistrict the hell out of their state, putting a whole bunch of Republican seats out, all Democrat seats in. So it's been a tit for tat across the country. Some states have done it, some states have not. The big one that was a stumbling block on the Republican side was Indiana, where they refused to redistrict despite the Trump administration urging them heavily to do so. And just this week, we got a reminder in that this is a shirts and skins exercise. And Virginia, of all places, which used to be a red state and then turned purple, now turned quite blue, with a new Democratic governor and a Democratic state legislature, decided that they were going to try to 10-1 the...
They did it.
Yeah.
It's the state's like a 55-45 to 60-40 blue versus red state, and they've done it. They're going to turn it into a 10-1.
Yep, for sure. Hilariously.
10 Democrats,
One Republican.
Representing
Yep.
in Congress, one Republican.
Yep.
Virginia is represented by 2 dyed-in-the-wool Democrats, most partisan guys you'll ever see in your life, but they like to speak to the middle.
They try to act like centrists.
Right? They try to act like centrists, so they've been wringing their hands in public about whether it's smart to do these partisan redistrictings, that, and the other. Well, a leader within the state legislature, Senator Louise Lucas, had something to say, if we can put up graphic too. I have the utmost respect for Senator Kaine and Senator Warner, but we do not need coaching on redistricting coming from a cuck chair in the corner. How about you all stay focused on the fascist in the White House and let us handle redistricting in Virginia 10-1?
That's it.
Well,
That's it.
It's very funny to say utmost respect and then call people cucks.
Yeah. And that's it. She did it. 10-1. What are they going to do? What are they going to do?
Well,
and for
nothing.
so long,
Hopefully
what we
lose.
got is all these Republicans loved lecturing us of being like, oh, we can't do this. Because if the Democrats get in power, they're going to do it to us. They just did it anyways.
Yeah, I mean,
they did it anyways. So all the Republicans in Indiana, I want you to know, they just did it anyways. They did it anyways.
So, of course, this provoked the White House, and in this sense, J.D. Vance in particular, in graphic 2A, where he says, I'd like to thank Bray Roderick for not even trying to fight back against this extraordinary Democrat abuse of power. Now the votes of Indiana Republicans will matter far less than the votes of Virginia Democrats. We told you this would happen, and you did nothing.
Yep.
So, I mean, look, that's a true story in terms of what happened.
Yep.
The Indiana Republicans decided, based on a handful of them, that they were not going to redistrict, which would have handed how many seats? Like a couple, 2 or 3, to Republicans. And then Democrats just kept pushing, and now the whole effort appears to be a net negative if this Virginia thing comes to fruition. So this has been obviously a huge component to the underlying midterms, which we now have a House of Representatives that has a 1-seat majority. And any edge one way or another when you're the party in power has profound significance. And in this case, you can't lose a seat from redistricting. You got to try to net gain if you're going to do redistricting. But here we are in a point where you've got an awful lot of seats that are vulnerable for a Democratic takeover of the House and a Republican Party in a lot of these states that is seemingly unwilling to understand that this is a shirts and skins exercise. The wisdom of all of this, I think, provides a greater conversation we should probably have at some point, which is you kind of need to lock your shit down at the beginning if you're going to there is nothing you can do in politics where you shouldn't game out step 2, step 3, and step 4. Because there's nothing that happens where you just broadside the other side and just stick it in their eye where they're not going to be like, well, I'm going to try to take this, I will burn the fucking thing right down to the ground to try to get back at you. And that's what's happened.
And here's what's happened is I think a lot of Republicans have amnesia. And they forgot that what the left has done over the past 5 years is they've tried to lock up Trump. They've tried to lock up Trump supporters. They've tried to throw Trump supporters into solitary confinement. They tried to kill Trump. They killed Charlie Kirk. And they've run amok. They don't want any voter loss. The first thing Abigail Spanberger does is she basically she signs an executive order that the state of Virginia will no longer cooperate with ICE because they want the illegals running amok. They're not going to count ballots by hand. Basically, what Democrats want is an open border. They want illegals to vote. They want to steal taxpayer money to give money to the illegals to support them. And Republicans are thinking, you know what? I'm kind of worried. You know, if we do this redistricting thing, boy, oh boy, what will the Democrats do? They've already tried to jail and kill us, man. They've already tried to jail and kill us. What do you think is going to happen if we let them back in power? What do you think is going to happen if they win the House? They're going to just investigate Trump. They're going to impeach him. They're going to do all of this. For the love of God, what's it going to take for these people? Anyone who is not, I mean, this is not like, oh boy, you know, the center of the country won't like this. The center of the country is what we call the right. The left is for castrating children and throwing their political opponents in jail and storming churches. Wake up.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I don't
buddy.
disagree with that. I do think there's a bit of strategery involved here that wasn't particularly well crafted. throughout. There was an idea that you could unilaterally act to increase a Republican margin without the idea that Democrats in their gerrymandering capabilities have gone back generations. It's the only reason they're competitive in the first place. They've been willing to be the most brazen. Gerrymandering, that's all a derivation of Democrats all the way from the mid-century, last century. I mean, that's what they do. They have no qualms about all of that. So if you're going to launch a war on that, you better make sure that you can execute upon it. And at this point, feels like a real open question about whether or not we're there. And I agree with your take. I mean, it's a shirts and skins exercise. Everybody talks about redistricting and census apportionment and all of that. There should be, courts or something that officially sort of designate. Bullshit. It's a partisan thing. It's been a partisan thing from the very beginning. You can outsource it to people who hide their partisanship if you want, but ultimately it's going to be a partisan thing. Just is. Like there could be someone who's a little less partisan than 10-1 in Virginia for sure, but it's going to be a partisan thing. In likelihood, it's going to be a partisan thing against you if you're a Republican because the establishment is a left-leaning establishment, and they want the plaudits of the mainstream media if they don't want the plaudits of the Democrat Party to begin with. And somehow we've gotten to a situation where we expect we're able to compete on a toe-to-toe level with a party that has done this for decades.
Yeah, I would say like the Democrats have focused on redistricting and gerrymandering for a generation in the same way that conservatives have fought for the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Like this has been their bread and butter for as long as I remember in politics. I mean, even like Barack Obama.
Eric Holder.
Eric Holder's bagman. That's his job. There's like one job right now.
Yeah.
There's a fascinating story when Barack Obama was coming on the scene. He actually redistricted his state Senate seat to include more affluent white liberals so he could court them as donors before he ran statewide for U.S. Senate.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Like that's the long game the left has played in redistricting their entire lives.
Yeah, no, they know this stuff. It's great. Look, I don't fault people for trying to figure out how you can gain a little bit on the margins. I guess that my biggest concern about the entirety of what was 25 and now 26 redistricting is you better make sure you're going to fucking win it. Like you've got to get all your ducks in a line right from the very beginning because you already know the other side is fine with it. Their courts in those circuits, in those districts, they're going to approve whatever the fuck they do. That's not an issue. Like they're going to jam through a full state referendum in California, funded by some of the corporate Fortune 50, and Gavin Newsom just pounding that down their throats. Like they're going to get it done. So you should know that going into it, right? I mean, that's part of what the give and take of politics is understanding the three-dimensional nature and knowing what the response is. You can't just be a blunt force hammer. I am all for it, but you better make sure that you have to you can execute it if you're going to do it. And it just feels like, I don't know, have we just redistricted ourselves out of a majority? Because that's a hell of a thing in the second 2 years. You already know what's going to happen. Trump's talked about it. Impeachment number 3 coming up. You know it's coming if they get the House majority. And I'm not saying the House majority is gone, but it's certainly like not great. 10-1 would be real bad.
Yeah. No, I mean, historically speaking, this cycle should be bad for Republicans. I mean, you take the redistricting out of it. Every single time you have a party out of power, it's usually bad at the ballot box in the midterm. And I think we're headed for rocky waters, not just in the House, but also in the Senate.
But more of this is in our control than we're making it seem here right now. I mean, redistricting is one thing, but like, we can sell the Trump agenda. We can sell the economic gains for the American people. There's a lot of things that Donald Trump and Republicans need to do to convince the American people they're better off than they were when Joe Biden was running the show.
100%.
I mean, like, we have a lot more control over this than we're.
Well, if you did a nationwide referendum where you had the exact same voter base of 2024, I think we'd win again. Mm-hmm. The problem is that every midterm since Donald Trump has walked down the golden escalator has not had that. Mm-hmm. Not even anywhere close. We swapped out a base that voted at 78 for a base that voted at 57 during midterms, and it shows up each and every election cycle. Now, I understand, knowing that, why you would want to try to change the calculus a little bit and add some seats. But if that's not going to work, boy, oh boy, like, you're going to need to sell. You're going to need the president to be out there in a very real way, trying to ensure that that same voter base shows up for the first time in his presidency when his name's not on the ballot.
This is just so disappointing for the Indiana Republicans who allowed this. And my advice, every Republican governor in this country, lock down those election laws hard. Now, we learned from 2020, the governors who did not act to lock down the vote suffered tremendously. Lock down those ballot boxes, the rules to vote.
Yeah,
because the Dems, look at this.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be worried about, what if we do this? Bro, look at that mugshot of Donald Trump, because that's the only thing that the Democrats want, okay? And it's going to be all of us.
If they're
Act like it.
If they're storming churches.
Bingo. Mm-hmm. You think these people care?
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll probably get into a little bit more of that and break down some numbers so you all understand the specifics of it. That was a broad outline, but I got to get to this variety because it's my absolute favorite. It's a lesson in aerodynamics, fellas. Scientific in nature, where, lift and air have a lot to do with many aspects of athletic feats. Mm-hmm. None more so than ski jumping, of course, where you could fly yourself off at 40 miles an hour into the great blue yonder and you try to float upon air as far as you possibly can and stick it onto your skis.
Okay, so I've noticed this, right? Because they lean into it as they jump.
Exactly.
That's about the aerodynamics, right?
It's about the aerodynamics.
You're generating lift.
Yeah, and if you notice, there's a little bit of flap that they have in their suits. Well, there's because of that, the suits very specifically tailored, where nobody can have an advantage in what they're wearing.
Okay.
So New York Post has dutifully reported on this, and it's a below-the-belt scandal, as they say. It's giving ski jumping an extra lift as some of the competitors in the winter sport are reportedly manipulating the size of their genitalia in order to gain an aerodynamic edge over their rivals.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, professional ski jumpers are artificially enlarging their genital area before official measurements by using substances such as hyaluronic acid, sometimes placed in a silicone. So that's what those kind of things are. A condom-like sleeve, sometimes placed in a condom-like sleeve, to boost their crotch dimensions.
They're putting acid on their penises.
They are. Yeah. Well, they're trying to build their penis.
These guys want to win.
Yes, this is according to a German publication, Bild. Yeah, no, I mean the commitment to victory. Listen, it's nothing like the Olympic experience, guys.
No, it sounds like, it says here...
The sacrifice.
It says they're putting a sleeve on that they're carving using the acid, but then they're putting that over their junk. Wow. It's like a cone.
Or sometimes injecting it directly in the peen.
Does it? No way. Where does it say that?
Well, we'll get to it. So the enlarged genital area allows athletes to wear a slightly bigger ski jumping suit that generates more lift.
Ah, I see.
That improves the aerodynamics.
They want more slack in the suit.
Yeah.
So they generate more lift, kind of like a flying squirrel.
It's exactly right. It's the flying squirrel type thing. If you have a little bit more surface area that is in the suit, the wind gets under it. It's a basic aerodynamic situation. The skis act as a little bit of a flap in that regard, and that it sort of generates lift, but your suit is primarily the leading edge of the wing.
So it's like an attached manta ray.
Yeah.
So they pump up their hog in order to get a larger suit.
It's important to have a big hog.
My God!
I mean,
so in that case, they win twice: once at the podium and once in the Olympic Village.
So the crotch measurements, and this is a specific part of it that I find so fascinating, because I was like, well, isn't it just like height and weight? and you just kind of got to jam whatever it is that you have into the height and weight like every other competition. Not so. In this, they measure each.
Like an inseam.
Yeah. Well, it's more than an inseam. The crotch measurement is taken from the lowest point of the athlete's genitals.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you manage to move that point downward, you automatically get more surface area in the suit.
Can we put up the suit? Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Wow.
There it is. So if you have a downward point beyond the inseam, you get a little bit more lift there.
Got it.
So if you've got like, a John Holmes situation going on, you're a better ski jumper in many situations. The extra fabric provides aerodynamic advantages which translate into longer jumps.
Wow.
Okay.
So
makes sense.
There's they claim some ski jumpers have allegedly used this acid to temporarily enlarge their genital area ahead of the scan, sometimes by injecting the substance into a silicone condom, like sheath, worn inside the suit. Unclear if the condom, you're injecting something that's on your panus. Seems dangerous.
It's just risky.
Smug's been awfully quiet this segment.
Well, I'm reading
He's
here.
trying to learn is what he's saying. Yeah.
So here's the thing is he made the claim that it was being injected. And there's a guy, this is Norwegian ski jumper, Halvar Egner Grenard, said that
Norwegian name ever.
This is such insanity, said that while being warm during measurements can matter. So like what? Okay.
You can't be
but here's the
cold.
thing. The notion of injecting substances into the penis to gain advantage, quote, sounds extreme. It is not something he believes is happening.
Well, he's a contrarian in this article.
You think so? You
Yeah.
think he's part of it?
Well, I mean, it's, yeah, I do.
Well, maybe Halvor has got nothing to worry about.
So last week,
Maybe Halvor's playing ahead of the game naturally.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing is, so then we go into this next point. He might be in on it.
Oh.
He might. So it says last
interesting.
week, 2 Norwegian ski jumping coaches and the team suit technician were suspended for 18 months.
yeah.
What does Norway do? Like
Well,
this could be like a situation of their by any means necessary trying to hold on to Greenland. All these people.
It could be it.
I just find it absolutely fascinating that you'd inject your peen to get a couple of meters out of a ski jump.
It does seem risky.
Sacrifice.
And there is, there's some natural advantages to people who have a little bit more to work with in that area.
These people,
Which maybe is part of the recruiting process.
It's sort of counterintuitive because you would think, those who are extremely well endowed would face more drag,
You would think.
rather than lift.
You would think. And there is something to be said about all that going on, but it turns out that the pure surface area that allows to accommodate such a drag
It's really counterintuitive.
is enough to maybe propel you upward and therefore further
Yeah.
in the Olympic. So you think about that in a few weeks when we have the Winter Olympics, when you're watching ski jumping, about who's really performing there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all about the peen.
Insightful.
Yeah, yeah.
What a great segment.
Okay, Bears fans, we have to shit on football for a little bit. Congratulations, Broncos are at least temporarily still in the playoffs now that
mixed
you don't
bag.
have a
brutal finish to that game.
starting quarterback, but it is a lot more than we can say, and it's the AFC Championship, so hats off. We have to give it to you. Bears fans, well, I think they went a step too far.
I like how they put in parentheses men, because this is the male Bears fans that are doing this.
So recall when Caleb Williams came to the NFL, he had a bunch of eccentricities involved, including painting his fingernails, doing a bunch of stuff that you wouldn't imagine an NFL player doing. Well, when they went on this playoff run, there was a bunch of Bears fans that decided to adopt all of this. Clip 3.
These are all the men at the nail salon painting their nails. All of them. And their toes. They're painting their toes.
Jeez. Oh, man.
Come on.
the important thing to remember is that these are the people who kick the hell out of the Minnesota Vikings nonstop. Also,
That's just not. It's just not true. It's just
they
not
would beat
true.
them nonstop.
No, they split the series.
Minnesota is a shame in football and humanity. This entire state, and they were getting smoked by these dudes who are busy getting their nails and toenails painted, and then they got smoked in that game.
This can't
Rams.
be real, though, right? Like,
No,
it has
it's a
to be
real-
like a fantasy football punishment.
No, it's a real thing.
No, it's a real thing. And here's the thing: is like this is why the Bears keep failing. Is they think that like this is why they would win. Like the days of like remember on SNL they'd have like the
Bears.
fat Chicago, yeah, exactly, like the Ditka kind of guys who are like having deep dish pizzas and beers. And now they've got dudes who drink matcha and get their hands and toenails, and then they get smoked, and they wonder why does this happen.
Well, I will say there is an important lesson in this. Remember, we began the season with the Minnesota Vikings introducing a new cheerleading unit.
The dude cheerleader, which was like the pride of Minneapolis.
And it didn't.
Like they said that was the best thing ever. All the Minneapolis people were just all about this like dude who's dancing around.
Is that what it was?
He's like, you know, other than that or Somali pirate. It's like, you know, pick your poison.
I mean, what unbelievable. I guess, but there is a through line there into what constitutes a Super Bowl appearing team, and neither one of them constitute a Super Bowl appearing team. Thank you for all of that. That's gone backwards on me. A fun story that involves airlines, Smug. You love airline stuff. It turns out that weight loss drugs like Ozempic, this is according to Yahoo Finance, on track to save U.S. airlines more than $500 million in fuel costs this year. Not surprising if you think about the science of this. Weight loss drugs could save U.S. airlines millions in fuel costs this year, according to a new report. The increased popularity of weight loss drugs such as GLP-1s mean airlines are carrying slimmer passengers, which in turn reduces fuel costs, Bloomberg reports, citing a report by the Wall Street Journal firm Jefferies. These drugs could save the airline industry up to $580 million this year alone.
That's almost Somali money.
Get rid
That's hilarious.
It's a lot.
So the fats. Also, dude, can we talk about the inverse of that? The fats were costing the airline industry $500 million.
I don't care who's costing the airline industry's money. What we know is that they're not going to pass any of the savings on to us.
Oh,
You're still going to sit on the plane. You're probably not going to get a pre-flight drink. You know, the stewardess is going to sit there and scroll their phone instead of get me my goddamn bourbon.
yeah. Now that all those people are skinny, can we bring back the peanuts?
Oh,
Like the
maybe we should
airlines
start demanding more.
The airlines are going to save this money. What was his name? The governor of New Hampshire. What was his name? The guy who's now Sununu, who's now just working for the airlines.
Yeah.
And he stands with this of them hoovering up all our money, not giving us a pre-flight drink.
He's going
You
after
can't let these airlines get away with this shit.
There's been a lot of talk recently about the Nobel Prize. You know, I guess the in exile, like presidential candidate that gave it to Trump or whatever.
Yeah.
Whoever created Ozempic should get the Nobel Prize.
They should.
You know?
It seems like it's benefiting society
Feels
all
like
around.
it's pretty great for society.
I had no idea that the fats were taking money out of your pocket in the travel industry. You know, we knew this about the healthcare industry for a long time, but I had no idea that the fats were so heavy on the wallet.
Huh.
I can't stand these.
Unintended.
The airlines are the worst, and I bet they
just turned it into an airlines.
They wanted this to get out so that like people will go against each other instead of like, when's the last time someone had a positive experience flying scheduled?
That
doesn't happen.
That is interesting, Smug. They're trying to divide us as
That's the thing.
passengers when we should have solidarity.
We should sit fats and skinnies shoulder to shoulder,
Yeah.
no matter what.
These airlines got to be held accountable, man. Like it makes me so mad because they'll put this report out of how it saves them $580 million. Like I'm supposed to be happy for the airlines? No, I'm never happy for them. They're never happy for us. They never treat you well, right? So I don't care if you know, fat people
still going.
Fat people get fatter. Get your money's worth, bro. If you're getting charged if you're not getting charged by the pound, go for an extra 100, dude. Make that plane sad.
What's a little heart disease, huh? Oh my gosh. Well, remember everybody, America 250 is upon us. You can join us in downtown Philadelphia on January 29. Doors open at 6 p.m. The tickets are free. Food and beverage is included. If you go to a250philly.com/ruthless, you can get a ticket in the venue location after you sign up. It's brought to you with our partnership from Americans for Prosperity. We're going to have a good time at this bad boy. You're going to have a lot of interesting guests, fun stuff, and you get Ruthless sort of uncut on the road, which, look, you'd think we're crazy talking about ski suits here. Wait till you see us live and in person. It gets a little wild.
Food and beverage included.
Yes, and beverage. That's what we're talking.
And Holmes in an Eagles jersey.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So remember our question of the day. What should the consequences be for Don Lemon? I think you've got some good ideas. When you like and subscribe to the Ruthless Variety program, we read all of your responses and get back to the very next episode. In this case, it's on Thursday. So like and subscribe and get that thing in. With that, fellas, I think we did it.
I think so. Absolute banger of an episode. Gentlemen, remember, Minions, go to the YouTube and hit that subscribe because it's more fun in video. So until next time, Minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. We'll see you on Thursday. Stay ruthless.